Cześć, it's Michalina from Coffee That Gives a Bag. So far I've provided you with some knowledge about how to choose a bag of beans, basically only by looking at the bag without even opening it yet. Let's say you are wandering in the roastery or you are doing an online shopping and you come across this random bag of beans. You look at it and you think, these coffee beans from Brazil, roasted 3 days ago for filter. The processing method was natural. Is that something that I would like to drink? Maybe yes, maybe not. Because now you know, you've watched the previous episode, so you do, that because it's from Brazil, it might have some nutty flavors. Because it was processed naturally, it might add some wine-like notes to it. And because it's for filter, it means that it might be pretty light roast, so the texture will be also pretty delicate. And if that sounds like your cup of tea, you might want to buy it and drink it. And so this combination of this particular coffee attribute will be a final result of something that obviously won't brew on its own. You would have to do it. You have to brew the coffee. So welcome to the first, more practical, more hands-on the coffee series, where I will be talking you through what you need to pay attention to when you brew the coffee to get what's the best of the beans that you've decided to buy. Before we get any further with this, just a little warning. I know it's gonna happen for some of you. What I'm about to say will sound a little bit geeky, something that you could consider, this is a little bit too much, Michalina, or why bother? Or I'm gonna tell you why bother. Calm down. First, if you're gonna say something like this, I'll take it super personal. No, I won't. Yes, I will. And second, I think that it would mean that you probably haven't had the chance to hear why it all matters. Because yeah, you can make a coffee by winging it or the way how you have been doing it so far, and you will still make a coffee. But it will probably taste differently every time you make it, or it won't be tasting as good as it can. If not to say, really bad. So you add milk and sugar to it to kill the bad flavors. If you are not aware, or if you underestimate few very much extraction affecting factors, you will get so close from having something amazing in your cup because you bought great beans, but you ruin the whole effort of getting this far and end up not enjoying the product that you paid for. Because you might have the best product, you could have the most amazing beans, but it's like with cooking. If you kept your potatoes in only lukewarm water, they will never cook. Or if you had your potatoes in the pot not fully covered with water, you know that some of the potatoes also will never cook. Or if you kept them boiling for like 6 hours, they will become overcooked. All the cooking rules apply equally to making the coffee. To get most of coffee's potential, I strongly encourage you to pay attention to 1. The equipment that you own. To avoid disappointment, I strongly encourage you to choose the brewing equipment for the day adequate to the coffee that you have in your cupboard, and vice versa. Some roast profile just don't go well with some brewing equipment. Tough life. And so if you have to deal with very light roast, no matter what you do, the coffee won't taste as good as it can when you make it in, for example, mocha pot. And one could argue with me on that. And I would say, no, I don't want to fight. I know that it is doable in some cases. But I think that a good idea would be when you take your first steps in making the coffee in this next level way, you could stick to the general guidelines, and once you get more comfortable, once you get more confidence with what you're doing, then you can start to improvise and experiment. We will break this subject down, subject of what machine should I be using with what coffee, in the future episodes. Second, water quality. Say what? Not only the quality of beans matters, but also the quality of water, yo! Perhaps that will sound like a chemistry lesson if I tell you that some people just simply despise the tap water and they will combine different minerals together in a very specific amount to make their own water. I'm one of them. No, I'm not. Or am I? Anyway, that is true. The extracted coffee is mostly water. So we will touch on that a little bit as well. 3. Water temperature. Using water that is too hot might result in coffee tasting burnt. And on the other hand, if your water is not hot enough, it won't squeeze everything properly out of the coffee and it won't be fully extracted. And what is even more interesting about this subject is that the water temperature concerned too high for some coffees might be not hot enough for other coffees. And that is something that we could be adjusting accordingly to our roast profile, to the brewing method, but also to the freshness of the coffee. 4. Grind size. From my experience, this is the most underestimated extraction affecting factor when making the coffee. But at the same time, is one of the most crucial ones. I will never understand why the automatic coffee machines with the grinders built in will never let you go finer than what the original scale says. But that's off topic. Or is it? It's raining. So you wanna know that? I guess what I'm really trying to say is that size matters. 5. The ratio. So how much water and how much coffee you're using. Let's imagine the situation where you put this much coffee into your cup and you pour this much water into it. Hypothetically, let's say that this tastes great. No, it won't, because the coffee was old and the water was cold. But let's just pretend that this is great. How on earth I'll be able to repeat the same result if I had no idea how much coffee and water I used? So for that you will need scales. If you would be able to tell how much water I've just used, you're a very talented person, but I can't tell how many grams of coffee that was. And to achieve repeatable great results, you would need to measure your ingredients, because that's how you would bake the cake, right? You can't just add flours and baking soda and all the other ingredients together, verifying how much you're putting there just by eye. In Poland we say, na oko to chłop w szpitalu umarł. And I think it's beautiful. To have a bigger control over the baking, cooking and coffee extraction, you would have to measure all the ingredients, and so you would do with 6 time of extraction. From my experience, this is by far the most affecting... I said that before. From my experience, this is one of the most underestimated coffee's extraction factors in making the coffee. You'd be surprised what paying attention to time of extraction can do. And what I mean by this is it's great to be aware of what are the found to be correct windows when making the coffee, in particular equipment, just so if your time of extraction is way off, up or down, you would be able to think of what was the cause of it, what was the result of it, and how you could fix it. 7. Good number. Yield. That, I guess, would be something that we will discuss more when talking about working with espresso machine. Because sometimes when you make a shot, espresso shot, no matter what you've been paying attention to, the time of extraction, the ratio, coffee, water, all the things, you will end up having only a little bit of coffee in your cup. So in the future episodes, we'll be talking about what could be that an indicator of. And 8. Taste of the coffee. At the end of the day, if you like the coffee just the way how you make it, stick to it. You can buy better beans to support roasteries supporting specialty coffee industry, and you might just like the coffee just in the way that you've done that, and that's fine. But if one day something will taste really off and you come to me you're like, they all would just run to you, Mihalina, I will say, I told you so, and then I'll help you. Sounds like a lot of effort? Maybe, but it really isn't. You just have to give it a chance. You have to just try it once, and then you'll see how much that changed the game of making the coffee. I am pretty sure that it will just increase the pleasure of drinking the coffee, and who knows, maybe that will become your daily ritual, something that you will be enjoying just as much as drinking the coffee. I know I do. And listen, once you get the confidence with all of this, once you understand what happens, why, how it all changes the coffee, you will notice that there will be moments that you can let go a little. And if you won't check the water temperature, the world won't end. Or will it? Just try. Peace and coffee.